WFIBS Missoula.
Well, I've long wondered, when it comes to the game of golf, when is it going to happen to me? Not just the illusion of maybe someday getting a hole-in-one, but when is the day where you just go out and you don't just play a little better than you've ever played before, you just go crazy. You just shoot a 70. When is it going to happen to me? I think a lot of golfers think this all the time, and it's what makes the sport so alluring, so addicting. But one of the craziest things I've seen in Big Sky Conference sports, and I know women's golf does not have a huge audience in Big Sky Conference sports. One of the craziest things I've seen in Big Sky Conference sports happened today at the Big Sky Conference Women's Golf Championships. So we'll lead with that and then get into a whole bunch of other stuff. Welcome in, Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. I'm Colter Nuanez coming to you through the ESPN MT studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. We got a whole slate of news briefs, including a sad one, certainly a life well lived, but Larry Donovan, the former Grizz football coach, he was at Montana from 1980 to 1985. He has the sort of inauspicious characterization as being the man who came right before Don Reed. He passed away over the weekend at the age of 84. I actually think that Larry Donovan deserves more credit than maybe he gets for being a pivotal figure in the history of Grizz football. His teams did not win a ton, but there's a couple reasons why he deserves to be a part of the narrative around why the Grizz were able to rise to national prominence and some of the great consistent runs of success that Division I AA football has ever seen. Larry Donovan had a hand in that. So we'll talk about that here in just a little while. We also have a whole slate of news briefs from around the state of Montana. A couple of familiar names that are transferring in state, a new head coach in Frontier Conference basketball. We also got some NBA playoffs talk coming up. We also have a new segment. We're going to do a little history lesson. I have so many historical Sports Illustrated. So here's the game. I pick up a Sports Illustrated, and we just thumb through it. It's like a moment in time. Today's issue, if you're watching on SWX Montana Television or the ESPN MT app or on YouTube, this is from January 25th of 1999. I think that this was the last time that Michael Jordan appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a Chicago Bull in not some form of retrospective homage. He appeared again when he was with the Washington Wizards. He had just retired when this came out, and then he obviously came out of retirement and played for the Wizards. The headline here is Michael Jordan's greatest hits on and off the court, while why his retirement is a blessing in disguise for the NBA. It's funny because in our mind's eye, I think we sometimes think, oh man, 1999, that was a little while ago, but not that long ago. And then you realize it was more than a quarter century ago. You realize that kids that were born in 1999 are young adults. I mean, they are beyond way old enough to drink. There's certainly, I mean, there's probably a whole bunch of 26 and 27-year-olds out there that have families that are as young as mine. So crazy to think about actually how long ago that was. So we'll play that new game going through the Sports Illustrated. That's all here just in hour number one. Then hour number two, I have a pre-prepared interview for you with Josh Eustace. He's a former NBA player. He's from Great Falls, Montana. He resides in Bozeman these days. He's the head of the Josh Eustace Foundation, and that foundation puts on the Montana Elite Invitational each and every year. This is back for the third year. It's a collection of the 28 best girls and 28 best boys basketball players, not seniors. Anybody that's in their freshman, sophomore, or junior year, so going to be sophomore, junior, and seniors. We have a selection committee that's made up of dozens and dozens of people that follow high school basketball around the state. And this is a great idea, first and foremost, and a great service to the community. It's also a really fun event to watch. So if you can make it to Butte Memorial Day weekend, there's games going on May 24th, 25th, and 26th, all at Montana Tech. But Josh is coming on to talk part MEI and also part NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs started last night. What a great game between the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies after a complete stinker that the Orlando Magic completely ran away with in the first of the two play-in games. And then we have a couple more games tonight and then a couple more games tomorrow. So the games tonight, win and you advance to another play-in game, lose and you're out. And then, of course, last night, the winners of those games, they secure the 7th seed, and the losers of those fall in to play the winners of tonight's game. So a little bit of a relatively new format in the NBA playoffs. So we'll talk about NBA playoffs, and also the Stanley Cup playoffs is right around the corner, or I guess upon us now. And we'll have a rotating set of analysts to talk Stanley Cup playoffs. But today we'll start it off with Jeff Safford and Hayden Smith. So that'll be a fun duo, and they'll bring you home here on this Nuanez Now. So there you go. That's what's coming up on the show today. You want to stream it? You always can. 1029ESPN.com. Also, you can always use the ESPN MT app. You can also use our ESPN Missoula YouTube channel. And if you'd like to be a part of the show, call us or text us anytime. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. All guests join us via the Elevated Tax and Accounting phone line, elevating you and your business with a modern professional touch. If you're tired of paying too much in taxes, let Elevated Tax give you a free consultation. They'll make a special plan just for you to help you minimize your tax bill. Save money on your taxes next year with Elevated Tax by visiting elevatedtax.com. When I say, when is it going to happen to me? I know talking about your own personal golf game is very much like telling fishing stories, and it's very much like talking about your fantasy football team. The only person that cares is you. Nobody actually cares. It's fun to talk golf stories with your friends that you golf with, but still there's just not a lot of, like, I passionately care about my own golf game. I do not passionately care about your golf game. I don't really care who you are. The one exception is probably my brother, just because it's the thing that we've shared throughout our whole lives and a common and mutual quest that we have to be somehow really good. We're both okay. We're both should be better than we are, given just a variety of different factors. I think probably exposure, hand-eye coordination, prevalence, mindset. We're both right there about 10 or 11 handicaps, so certainly better than a lot, but not nearly as good as some. I particularly should be better than I am, considering how much I play. But I'm getting there. I have gotten a lot better over the last several years by playing a lot. Here's what I'm saying, though, is that the last 4 years, I'd say, I'm right there where my goal is to go out there and break 80. I've only done that, I think, 9 times in my life. I've never done it more than 4 times in a single season. And my lowest round of my life is 76. So I've never broken par, never come close to shooting par. But when's the day where you just don't make any mistakes? Like, even the day, that one day when I shot a 76, I still had a penalty on a hole. I still had, a chunk here, or, you missed a 10-footer there. When does the day happen where none of that happens? You're locked in from start to finish. You don't have a chunk. You don't hit any shots in the sand. You don't have any shots roll into the water. You never 3-putt. You always 2-putt. Sometimes, if not most of the time, you 1-putt. Like, when's that day when you're so locked in on the greens, then you're rolling in everything? Like, for example, I've had multiple rounds, even the last year or two, where, like, last year I had a round where I had 5 birdies and I still shot an 80 because I had a whole bunch of other just stupid mistakes. When's the day where you just have 4.5 hours of clean golf and you don't screw up ever, and you just make every putt? I don't even think it has to be some sort of heroic, crazy effort as much as just a mistake-free round that also includes a little bit of magic. When's that going to happen? Like, how many rounds do you have to play? Is it 300, 400, 500? Certainly the more you play, the better chance it has to happen. The reason I'm talking about this is coming into the Big Sky Conference Women's Golf Tournament down in Litchfield Park, Arizona, I thought that there was a collection of young ladies from the state of Montana who could contend to get on the podium and maybe even make a run at winning this thing. For Montana State, Lauren Greeny came in as one of the big-time favorites. She joined us on the show on Monday. She'd already won 3 tournaments this year. She was a first-team all-conference player. She was the runner-up for Player of the Year in the league. So having won 3 tournament titles already, I thought she was definitely one of the big-time favorites in the Big Sky, a junior at Montana State. Scarlett Weidig has also been a top 5 placer in the Big Sky Conference. She won 3 tournaments 2 seasons ago for Montana State. She was a second-team all-conference performer. I even thought Becca Cheddar could be somebody that got into the top 10. Becca Cheddar was an honorable mention all-league selection this year, and she had multiple hole-in-ones, including one during this tournament. So those are the 3 cats I thought could really contend. Raina Ports from Montana I thought also could really contend, and she definitely proved that on day 1 by shooting an opening round 1 under of 70 at Wigwam Resort. She sat in, I think, 6th after day 1, Raina Ports did. And then I also thought that Elle Higgins from Montana could compete in this tournament. And she did. She was even through one round, +1 through another. So she was sitting there in 7th place going into the 3rd day. She ended up having a tough round today. She shot an 81, but she still finished 21st, so she was top 20. So all those young ladies I just named, they all finished in the top 20 in this tournament. Those were the 5 from Montana that I thought I had a chance to win. Lauren Greeny, by the way, she overcame an opening round +1 to then go 2 under yesterday and came in at even today. So she placed 4th with a 3-day total of exactly even. Raina Ports finished 14th, by the way, and Elle Higgins finished 21st. But this is all to say that the most unlikely of Big Sky Conference champions, none of those ladies from Montana or Montana State won the Big Sky Conference tournament this year. Maddie Montoya did, because today she shot a 3rd round 69, which was the low round of the tournament. She finishes at 4 under and wins the Big Sky Conference Championship going away. Now, Maddie Montoya has never been all Big Sky in her career. She's never won a tournament. She's never won a golf tournament at the college level. And she just won the conference tournament for Montana State. This is a crazy story. This is an awesome story. I just looked up these scores about half an hour ago and was thinking, man, this is crazy. I wonder if we can get her on. Sounds like they are in the midst of traveling home right now. It's funny because you just got done with the conference tournament, but it's the middle of the week in the middle of the school year, so they have to come back and go to class. So we're going to effort Maddie Montoya later on this week. But what a crazy deal. And it just got me thinking, like, when is it going to be us, right? Like, when's that day when you just go out and just shoot a 70? It's funny, my buddy who I played with on over the weekend, he had one of those days. He's really good, and he's usually, like, right there in the mid-70s. But he lipped out an eagle putt to break 70, and he shot right at 70, so he's 2 under for the round, and that was really fun to watch. And I just wonder, when is it going to be us? There's got to be a day when it's going to be us. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. In a much more melancholy piece of news, Larry Donovan passed away over the weekend. Larry Donovan was the head coach for the Montana Grizzlies between 1980 and 1985. He famously and also importantly led the Grizz football team, to the 1982 Big Sky Conference Championship. And that was Montana's first Big Sky Conference title since 1970. So it ended a long drought. After Donovan was not renewed at Montana following the 1985 season, he went on to coach for the BC Lions. He was an assistant defensive coach for a couple years up there in BC, and then he led them as the head coach from 1987 to 1989. He led BC to the Grey Cup in 1988, to the Grey Cup game. They did not win, but to the Grey Cup game. He was a former Nebraska defensive end. He got his coaching career started at Kansas. He got a coaching career started at Washington State and then had stints at Iowa and Kansas before he landed at Montana. But Donovan, I think he gets misremembered. in the Big Sky and at Montana. His overall record was 25-38. His Big Sky Conference record was 16-26. He made the playoffs once. So certainly nothing to write home about, and it pales in comparison to the run that happened at Montana after Donovan. I think that's where Donovan gets overshadowed. Of course, the Grizz opened Washington Grizzly Stadium the very next year after Donovan had not gotten renewed. Of course, they famously hired Papa Bear Don Reed as the head coach. Don Reed took the program to new heights. By 1989, the Grizz were in the Big Sky, or in the Division I AA, semifinals in the playoffs. By 1993, they were a perennial national power, and by 1995, they were the national champions. Between 1989 and 2009, the Grizz won an unprecedented 15 conference titles. They went to the playoffs every single season, 21 years in a row. And that's an all-time Division I AA/FCS record. So Donovan, and his losing record, and his one Big Sky title, and his one playoff appearance, pales in comparison to what Don Reed accomplished. And then what Don Reed was able to hand off to Mick Dennehy, and what Mick Dennehy was able to hand off to Joe Glenn. And you know the whole narrative. Dennehy brings the Grizz back to the championship game in 1996. Then Joe Glenn brings them to the championship game in 2000 and wins the national championship in 2001. Then Bobby Hauck takes over, 3 national championship game appearances, 7 straight Big Sky Conference titles. That is all a part of one of the great runs that the Big Sky and FCS football has ever seen. Donovan's record does not stack up to that. But I actually think if you were to rank all of the factors that went into the rise of the Grizzlies, I think Larry Donovan is the one factor that you don't factor in, and I think that's unfortunate. I think Donovan deserves to get factored in terms of his legacy, but also the foundation he was able to lay. Again, just 2 winning seasons between 1980 and 1985. They came in 1981 and 1982. That 1982 team was the first Big Sky Conference champion for the Grizz since the late 1960s, early 1970s, when they went to back-to-back Camellia Bowls. But if you look at the factors for the rise of the Grizzlies between 1986 and let's just call it the golden era, the Grizz have certainly been very good since 2009, but nowhere close to as good as they were between 1989 and 2009. So how did the Grizz get to that point? How did they get to the point where they were winning Big Sky Conference championships almost every single season? How did they get to the point where they were in the playoffs literally every single season? Well, the factors that I would credit include, of course, the erection of Washington Grizzly Stadium and the way that gave Montana such a huge recruiting tool, such an awesome home field advantage, the gem of all Division I AA football. And that's proven to be such an enormous factor for the fervor around football in this community, and also for just the passion that people have for the Montana Grizzlies. Well, people think Washington Grizzly Stadium, they think Denny Washington. And Denny Washington and the Washington family have a huge part of this rise for the Grizz. Larry Donovan and Harley Lewis also deserve so much credit for their fundraising efforts for that. Certainly the Washingtons put the project over the top. They gave the university $1 million. They got the naming rights forevermore, and the rest is history, right? But there was a whole bunch of other stuff behind the scenes to build the momentum in the program, to put Montana on the map so that people would give financially, because people forget. People take this for granted because the Grizz have been in the playoffs like 30 times since 1989, but they forget that the Grizz were never in the playoffs before that. The 1982 team was the first team ever to make the Division I AA playoffs for the Montana Grizzlies. So the factors that I think go into this, first, certainly Washington Grizzly Stadium. Larry Donovan deserves a ton of credit for that. And I think a lot of people that were around then and a lot of guys that played for him, they thought he got a raw end of the deal for pushing the fundraising, pushing the program forward, and then not getting renewed. And, of course, Don Reed did such a great job, and he deserves so much credit as well. But what would have happened if Donovan would have got a couple years to coach at Washington Grizzly Stadium and also recruit to that? But my factors are Washington Grizz, Don Reed for sure. The 1982 championship team, if you're watching on TV right behind our camera, I got a picture of that 82 team on there. Guys that have become good friends of mine since I moved back to Missoula. Marty Mornoweg, who's a great contributor on this show and an epic football mind who coached in the NFL for more than a quarter century. He was the quarterback on that 82 team. BS Brian Salonen, who I know is a loyal listener and one of my favorite guys to talk sports with. He was an All-American on that 1982 championship team. Those guys deserve credit, too, because they sort of moved the boulder, right? Like they were the ones that put this thing over the top. Other factors that go into the Grizz rise and then sustaining power also include, and these are the two factors that nobody ever wants to talk about, the Cats firing Dave Arnold. First the Cats firing Sonny Lubick, and then the Cats firing Dave Arnold and hiring Earl Solomon. That set Montana State back for 15 years. Dave Arnold won the 1984 National Championship. He had a losing season the next year. He's out. He won the 1984 National Championship with a bunch of guys that Sonny Lubick recruited. When Sonny Lubick was fired, guess who a bunch of the guys from Montana went to go play for? Larry Donovan. He got a bunch of those guys in the boat, and that was something that really turned the tide. Brian Salonen would be one of those guys who helped be sort of the spearheading of that recruiting class and then helped lead Montana to new heights. But the Cats, make no mistake, cutting ties with Sonny Lubick, cutting ties with Dave Arnold, and then hiring Earl Solomon, who at the time, you couldn't say was a bad hire. He dominated at North Dakota State when they were still Division II, and he had led North Dakota State to high levels of prominence at the small school level. But he came in, ran the triple option. It didn't work whatsoever. The Grizz go whoop like this to the moon. The Cats go whoop like this, just sitting there and plugging along in the average mode. And then the streak happens, and that has a huge part of the modern history of Grizz and Bobcat football as well. The other part that had such a huge part of the Grizz ascension is that the main contenders in the Big Sky Conference, other than Montana, left the Big Sky Conference. People don't want to acknowledge that as a huge factor in the rise of the Grizz, but it is. In 1993, Boise State, Nevada, out. 1995, Idaho, out. Guess who had most of the playoff appearances out of the Big Sky from 1978 when Division I AA was established and 1995? Idaho, Boise State, Nevada. Montana was able to slide in and replace those teams and also go to an even higher height by then reaching a national championship level. And, of course, you got to say Dave Dickinson had a huge factor in it as well. A guy who was a Great Falls, Montana native who then went on to be the most prolific quarterback in the history of the Big Sky Conference and had such a huge impact in the program's trajectory. That's all to say, rest in peace to Larry Donovan, and I hope people remember him for the impact that he did have. And you got to look beyond the 25-38 record because there was 4 losing seasons and 6 seasons, but there was also back-to-back winning seasons, a Big Sky Conference title, and the first playoff appearance that the Grizz have ever had. He also recruited several of the recruiting classes that helped lay the foundation, and more than anything, he was a gigantic proponent for fundraising and the effort to move the Grizzlies from Dornblazer Field to Washington Grizzly Stadium. And if you ranked all those factors I just named, from Washington Grizz to Don Reed to Dave Dickinson to the exodus from the Big Sky to the calamity that was the Cats, I would say Washington Grizz is one of the biggest factors, and Larry Donovan deserves credit for that. I also think some of the recruiting classes he brought in the second half of his tenure also deserve credit because they helped sort of swing the pendulum in the state of Montana, especially after Sonny Lubick was let go there at Montana State. So a little history lesson that's centered upon the death of a guy who I think deserves to be remembered with a lot more reverence than maybe he gets credit for around the city of Missoula. Larry Donovan, dead at the age of 84, excuse me, coached in 1984, dead at the age of 84. And happy trails to Coach. And I know there's several of his players out there right now that are listening. We're going to do a little bit more complete of an homage to him, maybe get a hold of some of these guys and let them give their 2 cents. But I just thought it was worth mentioning the influence that he had at the University of Montana with Grizz football and with Grizz athletics as a whole. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Sounds like Maddie Montoya from Montana State will be able to join us sometime later this week. Can't do it this week. She is the unlikely Big Sky Conference champion in women's golf. Came out of nowhere. She's basically like the 4th or 5th golfer on her own team. And she came out of nowhere and wins the outright championship. What a cool story. We'll catch up with her later on this week. But for now, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll give you some Montana news briefs. We'll go through those Big Sky golf finishes And we got some wings, some free wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. Wing It Wednesday coming your way right after this. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. State University of Montana football is a way of life. Lithia Ford has long been a proud sponsor of Grizz football, and Lithia Ford of Missoula is thrilled to have several of the best Montana football seniors driving the best trucks in Montana. Aspen Sound is the premier car audio and accessory shop in Montana. Aspen Sound makes sure the boys are riding in style with tinted windows and state-of-the-art stereo systems. There's always a party in Montana. Whether you're going to a concert, a wedding, or a football game, the Montana Party Bus will get you there. Skyline Sports and ESPN MT cover the Big Sky with more depth than anyone. Check out SkylineSportsMT.com and tune in to Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula every day. My Montana Roots and Wear Your Roots clothing is your go-to spot for the most unique and comfortable lifestyle clothing you'll find anywhere. And get your custom t-shirts to support your favorite player. From 5 local businesses who love Montana, best of luck to the Grizz as they pursue another Big Sky Conference championship.
What are you drinking?
I think I'll have a 56.
56 Counties American Light Lager, a beer for Montanans and friends of Montanans.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
What is a jewelry design center?
JDC is a family-owned business with deep roots in Montana. Why Montana? Because this community made us. Made us family, made us artisans, made us believe in love, made us hometown heroes. Because this community made us shine. Why Montana? Because Montana is home.
At the Stone of Accord, our liquor store has an extensive selection of Irish whiskeys, wine, and local spirits. We also have exciting events daily, and our complimentary beverages are always served with a smile. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair, restaurant, liquor store, and casino. Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair, restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Larry Donovan, who served as the head football coach at Montana from 1980 to 1985 and won a Big Sky Conference championship, has died at the age of 84. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. Donovan's passing was announced Monday by the CFL's BC Lions, with whom Donovan coached from 1986 to 1989. The Montana football program also announced the news via social media Tuesday. A native of Casper, Wyoming, Donovan came to Montana as the head coach in 1980 from Kansas, where he was an assistant. Donovan replaced coach Gene Carlson. In 6 seasons at UM, Donovan coached the Grizz to a 25-38 overall record. His best season came in 1982 when the Grizz won the Big Sky Championship with a 5-2 league record and went 6-6 overall. It was Montana's first conference title since winning 2 in a row in 1969 and 1970. It produced the Grizzlies' first NCAA Division I AA playoff appearance, which resulted in a 21-7 loss at league rival Idaho. Marty Mornoweg, an ESPN Montana contributor and former 26-year NFL veteran coach, was the quarterback for Donovan's 1982 Grizz. One of Donovan's major contributions at Montana was his effort to spearhead fundraising in what later became Washington Grizzly Stadium on the UM campus, which opened in 1986 and gave the Grizz one of the best home field advantages in college football. Donovan was dismissed at Montana following the 1985 season and went on to coach in the CFL for 6 seasons, including serving as the head coach of the BC Lions when they advanced to the Grey Cup in 1988.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
this day and age. Said you ain't gotta read between the lines, you just gotta turn the page. Well, I'm on South Law playing every time. Give a good woman a ring, this way it goes. Life ain't fair and the world is mean.
The moment is finally upon us. I get to see Sturgill Simpson tomorrow in Bozeman. I missed him in Missoula last year. I saw him in Missoula way back in the day. This is before he was epically famous. It was still when he was just playing the Wilma. I mean, Wilma's an iconic and awesome venue here in Missoula. But, I mean, shoot, I think he could sell out. I don't know if he could sell it out, but I think he could pack pretty good Washington Grizzlies Stadium. And he's playing tomorrow night at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse, and I believe it's sold out. So I'm making the journey over there to Bozeman land, and I'm so looking forward to it. So ton of Sturgill Simpson coming your way. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Here's how bad I am at math. Last night, I bet the Magic in the over. The over was 215.5 points. And then I bet the Warriors and the over. The over-under was 226 points. Well, the Magic won one going away, 120-95. And the Warriors won by the hair of their chin, 121-116. So the over in the Warriors game hit easy. It hit by 10 points. And I was doing the math in my head, and I thought I just had it money in the bank. Because 120 plus 95 is 215. The over-under was 215.5. So I go over to the sports bet machine at the press box lunch today with a couple clients. I go over to the sports bet machine, and I'm sitting there thinking I'm cashing my ticket. Not so fast. Half a point short. Wah, wah. Either way, the Magic Hawks game was not very good. The Magic are way better than the record. That's a silly thing to say, but I really do think they are. I don't understand why they went 41-41. They get some of the least exposure of any team in the NBA because of their market and a variety of other factors, but I don't know if they can make any noise in the playoffs, but looking at their roster, I just think they should be better. The Grizzlies-Warriors game, though, was a great one. And you can tell that, I mean, those two teams are really good. They just sort of, there was all these teams jammed between 48 and 50 wins because of the tiebreakers and stuff. There's the ones that happened to finish 7th and 8th. So what does this all mean? It means the Magic are in as the 7th seed. So they'll play Boston in the first round of the full NBA playoffs. And then the Warriors are in as the 7th seed. And they will play the Rockets. You have to think that the Warriors are licking their chops thinking about playing Houston. Houston was a 52-win team. They got a lot of athleticism. They're good defensively. Ime Udoka is one of the toughest coaches in the NBA. But, man, the Warriors with Jimmy Butler, when Jimmy Butler cares and Jimmy Butler's into Jimmy Butler playoff mode, it's a pretty good midseason addition. I mean, everybody's talking about Luka Doncic. I don't think really anybody considered – okay, they got Jimmy Butler. Is Jimmy Butler a fraction of what he once was? Is he kind of what he once was? What if Jimmy Butler is exactly what he was? What if Jimmy Butler's the guy that took the Miami Heat to the finals a couple of years ago? Like last night, he looked like vintage Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's been so good in the playoffs late in his career that we literally did like a multiple week argument about Jimmy Butler and his historical legacy. And at one point, we were comparing him on like the historical pantheon of NBA players with guys like Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. Like those guys are unbelievable. But Jimmy Butler is in the conversation as one of the better shooting guards of his generation and probably one of the, 12 or 15 best two guards in the history of the NBA. And last night he looked like it again. 38 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Vintage Jimmy Butler, and the Warriors move on. The playoff field this evening includes these games are just I mean, I get it. They're trying to like expand the TV brand or whatever, but like why is a team like the Miami Heat that are 37-45 having any opportunity to make the postseason? I just don't get it. So tonight it's Heat versus Bulls. Come on, Chicago. I hope and think Andrew's right. He says that my futures bet that the Heat are going to not make the playoffs still stands. The play-in game does not count, he thinks. I hope Sportsbet Montana agrees. And then hopefully the Bulls lose, the Heat lose this game to the Bulls. Even if the Heat were to win this game, they would still have to win another game against the Hawks. But I don't think they're going to win tonight. I hope they don't win tonight. The Bulls actually got kind of spicy down the stretch of the regular season, but they're still just sort of awash in this 7th to 9th place in the East for years and years and years, and they've just never been able to remake their identity as a franchise, and they were once one of the premier franchises in the NBA, and that's so far from being true right now. So they're in a weird spot. The night game is the Dallas Mavericks, who you got to feel bad for because they had a guy, they had the guy, they had their guy, and he gets traded in the middle of the night when Luka Doncic gets shipped to the Los Angeles Lakers. They got Mr. Band-Aid back for him and Anthony Davis. And, I mean, he's 2010 and a bag of chips, but he's also 2010 and a bag of Band-Aids because he's just available every other day. And I just don't know if that's somebody you can build around or win with in this abbreviated playoff type of play-in scenario. But the Kings are also a disaster too, and I think the Kings had it for a moment in time, and then they completely lost it, and it's just unraveled on them. Like they were one of the good feel-good stories in the NBA. But Domantas Sabonis is just not good enough. He's good but not great, and they are building this thing around him like he is great. DeMar DeRozan, I know that some people love him, and some people, the analytics guys, think that he's got all these efficiency numbers that make him like this elite type of player. He's just never done it for me, and he's also never won. Keegan Murray is this guy that had all this upward trajectory and all this potential, and he's kind of stalled out. Zach LaVine, okay, you win dunk contests and you score points, but what does it actually mean? This is such a weird, haphazard mismatch roster, and the roster for Sacramento was so much better when they had guys like De'Aaron Fox, but they decided to trade De'Aaron Fox mid-season. So I don't have much interest in watching these games tonight because I just don't really know like if it even matters who wins. Any of the teams that could win tonight, I think they're just going to go lose to the next team, right? Like I think Memphis will smack either of these two teams in the West. And the Hawks have been largely disappointing as well. And maybe the Bulls-Hawks would be a good game in Atlanta. I don't know. But I don't know. This play-in format, it's like the old Nick Van Exel story, right? 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Like, who wants to go to Cancun? If you're the Miami Heat and you're 10 games below 500 already and you're playing on the road tonight, like, how many of these guys actually want to keep on playing? Like, do you want to go play another one? Do you want to go to Atlanta? I just feel like there's not a lot of juice behind these games, and what are these teams actually going to do? Like, let's say one of the 9-10 teams wins this game and also beats the 8 seed to get in. Then what are you going to do? You go get swept by the Thunder by 17 points a game? You go get swept by the Cavs, lose 23 points a night? It just seems like a pointless exercise to me. But either way, we'll be following along because that's what we do. It was fun seeing Jimmy Buckets be back in the peak of his powers. If you missed anything from the first segment, the news of the day, Maddie Montoya, Montana State, comes out of nowhere and wins the Big Sky Conference Women's Golf Championship. 4 under for the tournament. She went 1 under 70 round 1, 1 under 70 round 2, and today she broke 70 for the first time in her life. Shot a 69 and wins this thing going away. She's never won a tournament at the collegiate level, and she just won the conference tournament in a 3-day exercise at Wigwam Resort in Litchfield Park, Arizona. Lauren Greeny from Montana State also finished in the top 5. She was in a tie for 4th with a total score of even par. And the top finisher for the Grizz golf team was Raina Port. She finished at 7 over for the tournament. She was 14th overall in the Big Sky Women's Golf standings. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. We got some Montana-wide news briefs for you. A couple transfers within the scope of the state that are recognizable names, a new women's basketball coach at Montana Western, and maybe we'll even learn a little bit more about this Sports Illustrated from 1999 with the great one, Michael Jordan, on the cover. Oh, and how could I forget? We got wings. It's Wing It Wednesday, which we do every Wednesday here on Nuanez Now. Best wings in the city of Missoula. You don't believe me? Go try them out at the Despo. They are located across from the YMCA on Russell Street. It's an awesome place to watch sports, but the wings are certainly what keeps you coming back for more. You want free wings? Call right now. Call number 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Call right now. Call number 4. We got a dozen wings for you to the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. Michael Jordan, Frontier Conference transfers, Frontier Conference coaching carousel. That's all next. Don't change it down. Keep it right here. It's 1029 ESPN Radio.
Start your race.
So will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
When you buy tires at Les Schwab, you're getting more than just tires. You're getting America's best tire warranty, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. So if something happens to your tire on the road, we'll fix it, or we'll replace it, no questions asked. Other places make you pay extra for that kind of protection, but at Les Schwab, it's included with every set of tires, because more warranty means less worry, and nobody stands by their tires like Les Schwab. Get more from Les.
Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
I guess it could be worse. It ain't that bad. At least I ain't sitting in no Baghdad in the middle of a hot damn desert, sitting in a tank. Well, every time the wife talks, baby gets mentioned. I'm so broke I can't pay attention. Lord, how it tears me up to see her cry. Oh, I've been spending all my nights on the internet, looking for a clue but ain't found one yet. Just a bunch of Mopars, guitars, and other stuff I can't buy.
I just watched. The internet is an unbelievable place. It's amazing, too, the content in just these little tidbits. I know it's probably, not probably, it's certainly bad for your brain in terms of the immediacy and the the lack of in-depth thinking, but sometimes the snippets can be so good. What I just watched, John Gruden, who now is working for Barstool Sports and doing a whole bunch of content, which, man, that's 50-50 across the board. But to me, I love Chucky. John Gruden is quite a guy. He's an unbelievable football mind. He's no doubt a savant. Like, he's memorized more film than we'll ever see. His memory for names and attributes is crazy. So this is a 3-minute video I just watched. John Gruden received a gear package, like a box of merchandise from the Nevada Wolfpack, who is led by former Montana State head coach Jeff Choate. And Gruden, this video is literally just him opening up the box, going through each garment and showing it with all the Nevada swag, but also doing this unfiltered stream of consciousness naming of all the great Nevada players that he can think of. Colin Kaepernick, Nate Burleson, Marion Motley, Brandon Marshall, Brock Marion, and it just goes on and on and on. He talks about the history of the program with Chris Alt and then running the pistol, and then now where they're at with Brock Purdy's little brother, maybe playing quarterback, and Jeff Choate's the head coach. And all I'm thinking is, first of all, this guy's mind is insane. The level of cognition and recall that he has is just wow. Second, I'm thinking, how's John Gruden not a coach anywhere in the world? That's crazy. How did he get on Barstool Sports, and how is he not a coach anywhere? How is he also not just on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or something like that? Either way, hopefully his endeavor's going well. But the third thing I was thinking was, man, screw NIL. This is like the greatest marketing I've ever seen, and this is probably free, if not this like by the grace of his own heart. This is just content for John Gruden and just unbelievable marketing for the Nevada Wolfpack. If you're the Grizz or the Cats, send John Gruden a box of stuff and see if he'll do a little montage like that, because that's about as good as it gets. Then when he does that, he does a little history of your program, if he's so inclined to do, send that to every single recruit on Twitter. Pretty amazing. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Couple Montana news briefs for you. First of all, Jackson Lieberg, who was on this show a couple weeks ago, I guess time's flying, actually. It was more like a month ago. It was previewing the Class AA tournament. He is one of the best players from Helena High, and he helped lead Helena High to the third-place trophy at the AA state tournament. He was a late signee to Montana State football, and he seemed like a prospect with a high ceiling because he's a 6'3". He's a great fluid athlete. He jumps exceptionally well. He had so many big dunks this year, it's hard to count in hoops, and he's projected as a wide receiver for the Cats. Well, he decided instead he's going to stay home in the capital city. He's going to play basketball for Carroll. That means he's going to reunite with his old running mate, Tevin Wetzel, who's also a senior at Helena High. And Wetzel has already signed with Carroll. I think Lieber's going to be a great player in the Frontier Conference. So I know some people can't understand how you could how could you not chase D1 glory? But I get it. You want to play hoops? You want to play hoops. It's way harder to go D1 in hoops. Not that it's easy to go in football. There's just so much more opportunity. A couple other pieces of Frontier Conference news. This is only worth referencing just because we've talked about these young ladies during their high school days. Avery Kraft, who's the younger sister of Carter Kraft. Carter Kraft was the quarterback at Helena High several years ago. He then went to play for Sac State the last couple of years. We talked about him yesterday. He's into the NCAA transfer portal, so we'll see if he matriculates his way back to Montana. Avery, his sister, as rare as it is for Carter Kraft to go to Sac State for football, she's been at Portland State for basketball. That's also sort of a anomalous place for a Montana prospect to go. Well, she's transferring and she's coming back home. She's going to go to Carroll College. Maddie Moy, who was a first-team All-State selection and an awesome player at Kalispell Flathead who helped lead Flathead to the AA state championship game in 2022. She has been at Montana Western, where she was a starter. But Montana Western had a coaching change, so Maddie Moy is also coming back to Carroll. So a couple young ladies that we covered in high school hoops during their times, respectively, at Helena High and Kalispell Flathead. They're both going to Carroll College, where they will try to help the Saints extend their streak of 8 straight 20-win seasons. Last piece of Montana news for you. Ryan Sullivan is the younger brother of Jordan Sullivan. He has been the head basketball coach in Sydney at the high school level, but he is now the new head coach at Montana Western. He played at Montana Western. This is women's basketball we're talking. Ryan Sullivan played at Montana Western, and now he gets a chance to take over the women's basketball team. Certainly the Sullivan name has coaching in the genes. Ryan Sullivan, being Jordan Sullivan's brother, also happens to be the nephew of Robin Selvig. So the Selvig lineage gets a little bit of renewal in Montana. I know Jordan Sullivan certainly was in the mix for the Lady Grizz job the last time it was open, which was only a month and a half or so ago. And now another Sullivan lands in the head coaching ranks in the state of Montana. So there you go. There's some Montana news briefs for you here on Nuanez Now. We did a little bit of this exercise, but I want to bring it back because I just think it's fun, and it's a fun way to reflect. It's a fun way to engage nostalgia. So here's the game. I have a whole bunch of historically relevant Sports Illustrateds. I've been getting Sports Illustrated since I think, I was 9 or 10 years old, so late 90s. And I haven't kept all of them. Used to come out once a week. Used to be 50 issues a year. Now it comes out once a month, but I have kept ones with iconic players or people on the cover. So today's issue, if you're watching on SWX Montana Television or on the ESPN MT app, from January of 1999, Michael Jordan's on the cover. Why is his retirement a blessing in disguise for the NBA? Michael Jordan's greatest hits on and off the court. First of all, you go to the very inside double truck here. You got a Marlboro cigarettes ad. That's something you can't do anymore. A couple more pages in. You got a advertisement for Mel Gibson in Payback. Haven't seen a print ad for a movie in quite some time. Do people even go to movies anymore? They got to be Marvel movies, right? Else you're not going. Then you got a couple iconic pictures of Jordan in the leading off section. You got Jordan in the late 80s just basically trucking Doc Rivers while going to the hole on Dominique Wilkins. Don't know if you can see that on the TV or not. Then you got Michael Jordan guarding Magic Johnson during their Lakers days. Then you got Jordan going full bore into David Robinson when he was playing for the Spurs. Then you got the big pullout. We got to save this one for Rajim. This is Jordan dunking on Patrick Ewing. Back in the day when Jordan was... This is funny because Jordan gets so retrospectively remembered with so much reverence and love. People that aren't of a certain age don't remember this, but people that are, especially if you're from certain cities, you absolutely remember this. Michael Jordan was a global icon that has had literally no peer in how famous and beloved he was on a global scale. But in cities like Indianapolis, Indiana, and New York City, New York, and Salt Lake City, Utah, and Seattle, Washington, Michael Jordan might have been the most hated person in all of those cities. Like, I remember as a kid, it's partly my contrarian nature, but it's also partly because, like, growing up in Montana in the 90s, we only had like 6 or 7 channels. So you couldn't watch like all this crazy stuff. We didn't even get ESPN until later on in my childhood. We had the networks, and then we had like the Salt Lake City channel, and we had the Seattle channel. And so I watched Jazz games on altitude growing up all the time. So I got to be a huge Karl Malone and John Stockton fan. Well, when you're sitting there and you're 9 years old and your neighbor likes the Bulls and you like the Jazz, you're rooting all the way against Michael Jordan. And I'm sure if I showed that picture to Rajim, I mean, he certainly has great respect and love for Jordan now, but back then, like, the New York Knicks were great. They were a great team. They have literally nothing to show for it. They made the finals once, and they basically got beat in the Eastern Conference Finals by the Bulls year in and year out. And there's plenty of people around New York City that are Knicks fans that are not in to the Michael Jordan phenomenon that happened in the 1990s for the Chicago Bulls. This is just fun to keep on going through these. Remember these? I don't know if anybody. I don't know. Can they see it on TV that well? I'm trying to gauge if this is absolutely great or absolutely terrible television. Can you like make out what this is?
To me, looking at it, it looks like a dude holding a bat.
So it's Mark McGuire, and it's a Got Milk ad. Remember these? All the famous people would pose with a milk mustache, doing whatever they would do.
We used to have those you had those in the libraries at your elementary school, right? Because I certainly did. How
much has the world changed? Now we deal with like big pharma and mass media. It used to just be like big milk. they're literally telling you to drink milk and eat beef. Like remember the "Where's the Beef" ads? Like this is just. America just used to be so much more wholesome.
That's why, you know what my favorite thing about the Idaho State tournaments are?
What's that? They still have the Dairy Farmers of America ads?
Yeah, they're sponsored by the State Dairy Association.
That's great. Yeah,
so it's Milk Madness.
Milk Madness, that's great. Just like Starch Madness. Well, we could go on and on and on and on about this, but super fun. Of course, the article I just turned to is not about Michael Jordan, but it's also about another one of my great sports heartbreaks as a child. When you're growing up, you first get to know sports, and then you realize, okay, sports have fans, and fans pick teams, and people have teams. Then you observe the adults or like people that are older kids around you, and you see like these people become freakishly involved with these teams. Even from a young age, I actually thought that was kind of weird. But the one team I did glom onto almost immediately was the Minnesota Vikings because my family has ties to the Vikings. That's a long story for another day. But then Randy Moss absolutely ripped the hearts out of the Montana Grizzlies in the 1996 Division I AA championship game. 2 years later, he's playing for the Minnesota Vikings, and that was on a team that was one of the great teams in the history of football. Guess why they're not remembered like they should be? Because they lost in the NFC Championship game, and the article in this is about that NFC Championship game to the Atlanta Falcons. The next article is about the AFC Championship game. It features a main photo of Glenn Kadrez of the Denver Broncos smearing Curtis Martin of the New York Jets in the hole in the AFC Championship game. Denver, of course, went on to beat Atlanta for their second straight Super Bowl title. There's also an article about Terrell Davison here that's compelling as well. A great article about Dominic Hasek, the awesome goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres. We could go on and on. I'm sure there's Michael Jordan here as well. Fun game, fun to remember the times. We'll do that from time to time throughout the spring and summer. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Speaking of the NBA, how about a former NBA player, former first-round draft pick, in fact, in the NBA, former member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's now doing great things for youth basketball in the state of Montana. Josh Hustis, a Great Falls, Montana product, who now resides in Bozeman. He's the head of the Josh Hustis Foundation and the head of the Montana Elite Invitational. We'll talk all things MEI and NBA playoffs in a special ESPN Roundtable. Next, Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 in Nuanez Now coming at you. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. 102.9 ESPN Radio.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
When you buy tires at Les Schwab, you're getting more than just tires. You're getting America's best tire warranty, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. So if something happens to your tire on the road, we'll fix it, or we'll replace it, no questions asked. Other places make you pay extra for that kind of protection, but at Les Schwab, it's included with every set of tires, because more warranty means less worry, and nobody stands by their tires like Les Schwab. Get more from Les.
Attention, your locally owned and nationally known mattress firm thanks the Missoula community for 10 years of amazing support and growth. There's a huge remodel sale blowout before the doors close for their 2-week remodel. All inventory must go. Mattresses, adjustable bases, accessories, all drastically marked down to clear the showroom. Save up to 60% off on top name brands. If you've been waiting for that amazing deal, now is the time. Mattress Firm's remodel sale only April 1st through the 15th.
Where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
And radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. 1, 2, 3. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
I won't be around this old town. Getting more for a long, long time. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line. Gonna hit the road, start looking for the end of that long white line.
The revelation of all revelations from the chick who doesn't know sports today. She also doesn't know music. She had no idea who Sturgill Simpson was. Like, what? How's that even possible? She's like, well, I don't know. I don't listen to country. I'm like, okay, that's fine. He's pretty big. Funny. I hate to make fun of her when she's not here. It's way more fun to make fun of her when she is here, which she will be here tomorrow. So have no fear. Chick who doesn't know sports returns to Nuanez Now Thursday during the 5 o'clock hour. And I'm going to Sturgill tomorrow. That's where we're playing nothing but Sturgill here on the show here today. Nuanez Now, if you missed anything in the first hour of the show, you can find it on the podcast, probably presented by the M Store, where they're all grizz all the time. The Montana State Bookstore, your best place for blue and gold on game day or any other day. And Elevated Tax, elevating you and your business with a modern professional touch. I feel like there's news of the day that changes, like what the news of the day was an hour ago, then changes again and again and again. The news of the day this morning was Maddie Montoya winning the Big Sky Conference Women's Golf Tournament. The reason, championship tournament, that is. The reason that's news is because I thought there was 5 or 6 women from the state of Montana, either Grizz or Cats, that could have won that thing. She wasn't one of them. Broke 70 for the first time in her life and won a tournament for the first time in her college career. It happened to be the conference tournament. Impressive. But the other big news also has to do with a Montana State female athlete, one of the best Big Sky Conference basketball players this last year. I think to this point, probably the most shocking entry into the NCAA transfer portal was by Mara Dykstra. She hit the game-winning shot for Montana State against the Lady Grizz in the championship game to go to the big dance. I just figured with the graduation of a whole bunch of seniors and sort of the hierarchy of that program, that Dykstra, I mean, she was set up to be the Big Sky MVP, at least in the preseason. She was going to be the focal point of the offense even more than she was last year. So when she hit the portal, I was like, wow, that's pretty surprising. I wonder where she's going to go. Well, from MSU to MSU, Mara Dykstra committed to Michigan State earlier today, so she's headed to the Big Ten. We're going to get to Josh Husis in just a minute, but Andrew, any thoughts on that? I don't know much about Michigan State women's basketball. I do know a lot about Big Ten women's basketball. It seems like a big jump.
Yeah, I mean, what did she say? She said that she wanted to go somewhere that would give her a shot to play professionally at the highest possible level.
Yep.
I think that that's what you do when you go to the Big Ten, right? And you go to Michigan State. They have a very good program there.
Lady Grizz played them this last year. Hard to gauge by that game because Lady Grizz turned the ball over like 39 times.
But they won 22 games this year.
Okay.
It's a very competitive league, obviously. They knocked off Harvard in the first round of the NCAA tournament and lost to NC State in the second round. So that's a team that has Sweet 16 aspirations, certainly, and a program that has Sweet 16 aspirations. And if she can go there and keep her production up, then exactly what she said is going to come true. She's going to have a chance to play professionally at a very high level. So if that was what was the top priority in her mind, I think this is a good move.
We'll know exactly how good the Big Sky women's basketball players were last year in terms of translating the Big Ten, because 2 of the 5 best, Taylor Feldman going to Purdue after playing at Northern Arizona last year, and Mara Dykstra from Montana State going to Michigan State. We'll get to see pretty dang quick just how well they translate to the highest level of women's college basketball. Speaking of high levels of basketball, a fun event coming up in late May. ESPN Roundtable, and we're doing a little Montana Elite Invitational style because this has sort of become an annual tradition. Josh Eustace, a Great Falls product who then played in the NBA for several seasons. He's been back in Montana for a little while, and he has spearheaded this awesome event that is in now year 3 of existence, and it's been very fun to follow and be a part of, and it's a great sort of entry point for us to follow some of the best in high school basketball, but it's also just such a great idea. The Montana Elite Invitational coming back again this year, a new city for the event coming up in late May, so a lot of fun stuff going on. Josh Eustace joins us now on Nuanez Now. Thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing great, man. Staying busy, getting everything ready. It's hard to believe we're back again for year 3, but I look forward to this every single year, and it's definitely a lot of fun. And I selfishly get to watch some great basketball, and then find a way to help get these kids a little bit of exposure and help them, sharpen their teeth against the other top players in the state. It's an awesome event, and I really look forward to it every year.
Well, for those that don't know about it, tell people about how this sort of came of origin and just sort of your motivation behind having this showcase for some of the best, both boys and girls basketball players in the state of Montana.
Yeah, it became an idea for me towards the last couple of years of my career. Just thinking back on my own growth in Montana and my own recruitment, and coming out of Montana, obviously there's always an asterisk next to players' names about, well, they're from this school or that school. How good could they really be? Who do they play against? Who's the competition, right? And I wanted to create an event that could help kind of squash some of those questions and give players the opportunity to go, hey, like, look at here. We brought in some of the top prospects in the entire state into one place, have them all compete against each other, and so we can just put the question marks about them to bed, right? We can show that these kids can play against anybody regardless of what town they're from and what class they play in, what year in school they are, all of those things. And so by doing that and then giving them one location for them to be able to compete in front of college coaches from all over the country, like it just makes it a little bit easier on the kids, right? When I was coming out of high school, obviously, it was a different era with social media or YouTube or all these different things that are so prevalent now. But, this just, I feel like, is just another addition for these kids to have the chance to be able to show their stuff and, get their names out there, because there's so many good basketball players in this state that I feel like just get overlooked because of the place that they're from. And if I can just expose their talents to as many places as possible, then I'm going to do that, because all of these kids deserve a chance to be looked at.
Well, you yourself growing up in Montana, you were one of the rare guys that did become sort of a big-time type of prospect and then took your talents to Stanford. So now that you've been doing this, though, you've been working with kids, working with high school kids and coaching hoops and doing the MEI. How have you seen basketball at the high school level in Montana evolve?
I love Montana basketball, but I tell people this, and I think a lot of people do see it, that it's perpetually seems like it's right now about 10 years behind in a lot of different areas. The way that the game is played, the pace, just the style, everything is just done just a little bit slower than other places. But one of the great things that has come from social media, and I know that there's people out here that are basketball purists in Montana that want it to remain the way it always has been, but the social media, these kids now are seeing how the game is played in other places. And the way it goes is it's faster, it's athletic, it's exciting, right? Obviously more threes, more dunks, more all of these things, which, I think does make the game exciting. And I do think that it's important for Montana to keep up with the trends of basketball as a whole in the other parts of the country. Now, with that being said, I think there's something special about Montana kids in a sense of that they're tough, they play defense, they play good team basketball. But there's definitely a drive for these kids to play the more modern game, because at the end of the day, that is what is being recruited, right? And I have seen a lot of growth in that aspect. There's definitely a lot of great players who are playing along like in that more modern style and playing fast, and teams are getting up and down, because when I was in high school, games would frequently end in the 30s or 40s, which, it's just a slower, more meticulous game. But now it's just like, let's get up and down. We're going to play fast. We're going to play athletic. And the athleticism all over the state has just jumped sky high, and it's fun to watch. And it's going to continue to be fun to watch the game continue to grow and catch up with other areas of the country.
Josh Eustace joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television, the ESPN MT app and YouTube channel. The girls' side, I think, is actually probably more quote-unquote modernized than the boys' side right now. And I think we've hit a tipping point, because now there are big-time college programs recruiting in Montana. And if you're one of the best girls in Montana, you're not just going to the Big Sky Conference, you're not just going to Lady Grizz or Montana State. You can go to Gonzaga. You can go to Colorado State. You can go to Wyoming. You can go to the Mountain West and sometimes even the Power 4 level. So how have you seen the girls' game grow? And that's one of the fun parts about this. I thought going through the nominees for the MEI this year, I mean, it was like the first 15 girls we had on the list, it was just, yep, check, check, check. I mean, they're so good. These are all
right.
Division I caliber, automatic selections to this Montana Elite Invitational. So the girls' talent has certainly grown, and the game itself, I think, has grown on a national level. I think that's impacted Montana for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the special things is when you get a crop of girls that are so talented, and this is for girls or boys, but specifically for girls right now, when they're so talented, they challenge each other, they help each other grow, right? And it just makes them better as a whole.
No doubt.
Right? They get to play each other throughout the AAU, travel ball growing up, high school seasons, all these things. And it just makes each of them just better and better and better and better. And that's how you end up with where we're at now, right? I remember watching the MEI last year and watching a girls' game and thinking to myself, wow, I think it was 9 out of the 10 girls that were on the court at that time were potential D1 players, which is just, it was unbelievable. It's so great to see, right? Because there's so much talent, and giving these girls the opportunity to be seen and to go represent Montana and show that, Montana does have a lot of talent to offer is great. And, that girls' side is doing such a great job of that. And we're continuing working on getting the boys' side there, because there is so much talent there. I just think that it needs to be recognized, and hoping that the MEI can just help get the names and the recognition out there and just show that, this is a place that holds a ton of talent and a lot of skilled players that deserve to be looked at and deserve to be given a chance, because we've been overlooked for so long. And, I do think that the tide is changing a little bit, and credit to all the amazing girls in the state that are helping do that.
Montana Elite Invitational coming up in late May. So now that you're into year 3, what's changed? I mean, what sort of things have you added, or how has sort of just the planning behind all this evolved from just a logistical perspective on your end?
Oh man, we've thankfully developed the systems that make the planning and the organization just a little bit easier. Still, working to try to make sure that everything works and goes smooth. And as much as I want it to be a great on-court event for these kids, just as important to me is that the off-the-court stuff that they get to do is enjoyable and fun and gives them a chance to socialize and interact. Because, I remember going to camps and events and tournaments and all of these things, and and I don't remember which games I won or lost or how many points I scored, but I remember the friends that I made. I remember hanging out in dorms at camps and doing all these things and meeting people. And those were the things that were always important to me. The ball stops bouncing for everybody eventually. Like, I was super fortunate to play 8 years professionally, and here I am, in my early 30s with a lot of life left to live. but was fortunate enough to make a lot of great relationships through basketball. And so really working hard on finding ways to bring in speakers to talk to the kids and help them, learn life lessons and things that go beyond basketball, and give them chances to socialize and come up with fun events for them to participate in and get to know each other, because they've spent so many years, a lot of them, competing against each other, that now it's really fun to watch them see each other in a different capacity and become friends and bond. Because Montana is such a great state and these are great kids, I just wanted to give them the chance to experience things off the court too, right? Like, it's very important to me because for so long, for athletes, our identity becomes basketball. But giving them chances to get to know each other on a more personal level, get to know each other as friends rather than just competitors, because that's lifelong stuff. And one day, their kids might be playing against each other one day, and this is just fun things for them to reminisce on. So really working hard on establishing fun events, social time, speakers, because it is bigger than basketball. And we're really trying to lean into the life lessons that can be taught at an event like this that go well beyond just bouncing a ball on a court.
Cool. It's going to be in the mining city this year. Moving the event to Butte, and Butte is always a great town when it comes to high school sports. I mean, they always show out. It doesn't matter who's playing where or when. Butte always shows up. So tell us about just the move there. And the games are going to be played at Montana Tech. Do I have that right?
Yeah. So the games are going to be at Tech. This will be our third year. Obviously, first year we did at Carroll. Last year we did at University of Providence, and at Tech this year. Really like the idea of being able to take it around the state, to give different portions of the state the chance to see these amazing athletes in person, right? And it's a fun chance to be able to give the kids an experience of like, hey, you're going to stay in the college dorms. When the school hosts us, they feed the athletes, like our players, like they feed their athletes. You get to see the weight room. They take tours of the facilities, all of those things, and give them a taste of what it is like to be a college athlete. And I think it is really important to be able to give everywhere in the state a chance to be able to see these athletes, because Montana, as great as it is, we are so spread out, right? And it is difficult to get out there and to see these players. And a lot of these kids, or a lot of these fans, have just read names in papers or seen highlights on social media or on the news, and now have a chance to be able to watch these players in person, see them up close. It's really exciting. I mean, I love Butte. Butte is going to be a lot of fun. Like you said, it's going to be a great turnout to be able to come watch these kids. We've got players from Butte that'll be there. So really, really excited about the fact that we're going to be there and give another portion of the state a chance to watch some great basketball.
One thing, just looking at the roster, that I'm very excited about, and this is something I've been passionate about for a long time, because a couple of my best friends growing up were guys that are from the Blackfeet tribe, and there's a whole collection of Native American players playing in this MEI on both the boys and the girls side, but there's a strong contingent on the boys side, and I just think that's just awesome, man, because I think that this is a great opportunity to show them opportunities that might lay in front of them, and this last year, I mean, shoot, several of the teams from the reservations were some of the best teams in the state. I mean, Box Elder went undefeated for the second year in a row. I mean, poor Lodgegrass, they would be two-time state champions if they weren't going the greatest Class B team in the history of the state. And they're still awesome, and they have a couple guys represented as well. So just talk about that aspect. That's a cool deal here, too, where you get to see people that are coming from maybe significantly different backgrounds, not just small town Montana, but Montana Indian reservations, and coming in and kind of getting to see the wide world and also compete at a very high level of basketball.
Yeah, representation is important, right? Representation is important. And part of the reason I started this is I recognize that basketball is not always an equal opportunity sport. Right. Unfortunately, the way that it works is that some people have more access to opportunities, more people have chances to go to camps or tournaments or things like that. And so what was important to me when I started this was not only was this going to be completely free for these kids to be a part of, right, but I wanted to give the chance to as many kids as possible that may not get opportunities like this. Right, regardless of where they come from reservations or non-reservations, wherever they may be, because I recognize that giving a kid the chance to play college sports, go to college, get their education paid for, that can have a ripple effect for literal generations in a family, right? Giving a kid an opportunity to get a free education, to see the world, to be a part of something, to one day tell their kids about how they played college basketball. And so I think it's so important to have that representation, and that's why we use the selection committee that we have that has coaches and journalists and basketball experts from all over the state that see so much of the state and so many different ways that it's played, and kids from different communities. So we see as much as we possibly can. Now, obviously, we're going to miss every once in a while, right? There's going to be kids that do get overlooked, or kids that deserved a chance but maybe didn't get seen, and we do the best we can. But I think it's really important, and I'm so happy to focus on, just being able to provide opportunities for those 56 kids that do get to come, because I think that they deserve it and they've earned it. And, we're always looking to improve and give more and more opportunities to different populations.
Josh Hughes joining us here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. It's our ESPN Roundtable for the week, talking all things Montana Elite Invitational, coming up May 24th through the 26th. That's Memorial Day weekend in Butte. 28 of the best boys, 28 of the best girls basketball players. And to be fair, I've got some questions about this. It's freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. The seniors are either probably already on their way to a college opportunity or playing one last round of club ball to maybe get an elevated look. So for those that are wondering, because I got a couple questions, we got a couple questions on the text line, like where's Trace and Gillette? Where's some of these great seniors? Well, right. They've already played in this a couple times in a row, so just clear that up for everybody.
Yeah, and like you make a good point. We do it the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. Yeah, those seniors. That's the thought. A lot of them are already committed and heading to explore collegiate opportunities, or the colleges that are coming to recruit are done recruiting for the class of 2025, this, that, and the other. And like a player like Trayson, of course, was a no-brainer. He was in the last two of them. There are obviously some great seniors, and we had, a year or two with a lot of the really, really top-notch players, and excited to welcome a new crop of kids into the fold.
Well, I'm excited about this. Not to put you on the spot, but I got to ask you: are there any particulars that you're excited to see show their stuff? I know it's kind of a loaded question, given that there's 56 kids on this, and there's a lot of kids on the roster that are really, really good. But, I mean, I'll start. I'll tell you a kid that I'm really excited to see this thing is Kamani Frazier, because I saw some highlights of him on the news. For those who don't know who this young man is, he's from Lame Deer, and he's like 6'6". He's really thin still. But the guy hits his head on the rim already, and his motor is crazy. He's super raw, but I can't not wait to see him against more talented guys. Because when I saw the highlight on the news, I sent it right to Chris Cobb from the University of Montana. I said, "Hey, I know this kid is in D1 right now. Look at this kid, man. Look at his frame and look at this highlight. He had this highlight where he saved the ball to himself, and then he went and blocked the shot. He comes back and gets the outlet pass, dunks it. I'm just like, man, this guy's got a lot of potential. But that's just one of the examples here that are sort of guys that can really show out. Any guys or girls you're really excited about watching this year?
Yeah, I mean, Kaimani for sure. I've had a chance to see him a couple times, and yeah, obviously, incredible athlete. Some of the other players that really excited to be able to see. He was there last year, but Lincoln Rogers from Missoula Sentinel has developed a ton, had a good year individually and everything. So seeing him, another Missoula kid, Zane Gilhouse, watching him come in and play. Josh Sutton from Butte Central, really good guard from there. We've got Ethan Rivas from Glendive, a freshman, playing. Two freshman boys made it, him and Landon Levang from Helena Capital. So that's exciting to being able to see youth in there. And then as far as the girls' side, we missed her last year because she was at her brother's graduation, but seeing Mason Quinn from Frenchtown come back, really excited about watching her play, because she obviously is an incredible player. Jada Davis coming back, and then we have both the O'Connor sisters, Madison and Avery from Baker, there as well. It's funny because you ask that and I'm like, well, I could literally sit here and name 56 kids right now that I'm excited to watch, because there's just so much talent. It's always very interesting to see who shows up and shows out, because anytime that you take kids that are used to being the top on every team they've ever been on and you throw them all together in one place, and then seeing who kind of rises to the occasion and shows out, it's always really, really fun. And for those of, anyone wanting to watch, obviously make sure to attend. We'll be live streaming it, but we're also going to it's open to the public to be able to come watch, and we'll be selling tickets opening on May 1st. So would love to have as many people as possible come support these kids.
It's got to be fun for you too to see how much better these kids get from year to year too, right?
It is. I mean, some of them, I've got kids that are coming back for their third year. Like they've been in every single one, and getting to know them on a personal level and welcoming them back, and just seeing like, oh man, like you've gotten taller, you've gotten faster, you've gotten more athletic, you're shooting better, all of these things. It's really exciting. And as fun as it is to watch them on the court, I do truly believe like the most fun part is getting to know them as people, because they're tons of good kids, just really, really good kids. And it's so fun to just see them interact with one another and spend time with them and get to know them on a personal level, and then follow their seasons and follow where they go to college. It's very cool, because I do remember feeling like it's not that long ago that I was in their shoes, and seeing them develop and how their game grows and how the game of basketball in Montana grows. It's a very cool experience for me, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Josh Eustace here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. Well, we have to ask you about the NBA playoffs before we get you out of here.
Yeah, right.
The NBA and the NBA playoffs are underway, and it's fun for you, I'm sure, because the franchise you spent the longest time with, the Oklahoma City Thunder, I mean, what a year, man. 68 games. I mean, this is one of the greatest regular seasons ever. They also have this embarrassment of riches in terms of the future, because they just have endless draft capital, and they have this great young roster that's so fun to watch. So start there. What do you think of, I was going to say your alma mater, not quite your alma mater, but
right.
You played for a couple of years there. It must be fun for you to watch the Thunder.
Oh man, they're so fun to watch. It's like you said, it's pretty crazy to think that you look at them, and I saw the other day, the oldest person on the Thunder roster is Alex Caruso at 31 years old.
Wild.
He's the oldest player on the entire roster. I think their average age is somewhere around 24 or 25 years old.
I saw a stat during the NCAA tournament that Auburn's cumulative age was older by like half a year than Oklahoma City's cumulative age. Wild.
Which is just unbelievable. So you just look at that and you go like, wow, they are going to be good for a long time. Obviously, if they're able to keep the pieces that they've got. Like you said, they've got a ton of draft capital over the next few years. I mean, just the thoughts of what they're going to be able to do going forward. And they were already incredible, and now obviously they've got to back it up in the playoffs here, because the playoffs is a different beast. But I mean, just the fact that from where they started at, a few years ago, being one of the worst teams in the West, to now being one of the best regular season teams in history. Right. It's just unbelievable on the backs of a bunch of kids that could just be finishing college. And so it's cool to watch them, and it's cool to see, a lot of the coaching staff that was with me when I was there, still on the bench, still being a part of it. And, I'm still a fan. I still love the Thunder and root for them. And I am excited to see what they do in the postseason. But like I said, it's going to be, the playoffs is a different beast when you give a team 7 games and a week to prepare for you, and they can focus on you and you alone. Like that is, you're going to get their best, and it's going to be exciting to watch how they perform.
The other one I got to ask you about is just the trade that broke the internet midseason with Luka Doncic getting traded from the Mavs to the Lakers. That in itself was such a bombshell, but it's also worked, I think, probably better than anybody thought it could even work. I mean, I think people thought LeBron and Luka would be good together, but they've been great. And, I mean, Austin Reeves is sitting over here counting his money already, because all he gets is just open shots all day long. I mean, the guy looks like a top 25 player when he's playing next to those guys. What have you thought of the impact that Luka's had? And do you think that's Oklahoma City's biggest challenge in the West is the Lakers?
Oh, man. Luka is such an incredible talent. Like, he's generational. He is, the things that he's able to do offensively are as good as almost any player that's ever played basketball, right? And to pair him obviously with LeBron James, it's one of those things where you go into it and you go, all right, now this could work or this could be an absolute disaster. And, they've both taken on the role of winning being the priority, right? And because of that, the team has been successful. I've seen teams, we've all seen teams that, on paper you're like, oh, this team should never lose, and they just don't come to fruition. But this team has definitely found a way to make it work. Credit to JJ Redick, honestly. Like, I think he has had an incredible year as a coach and as a leader. And then LeBron, of course, just is a winner. Like, he has brought teams everywhere he's been. He's found a way to win. And so you bring in a guy like Luka too, like, they're going to win games. As far as who the Thunder's biggest competitor is in the West, oh man, there's so many. Between them and Houston and Golden State, Denver, like, it's interesting. I'm a big Jokic believer. I have a hard time betting against Nikola Jokic. I think he's the best player in the world right now. I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but I think what Jokic is doing is, I think we've been so spoiled by him that we aren't truly appreciative of just exactly what he does, being top 3 in 5 different statistical categories as a 7-foot center, which is just unbelievable. But to be honest, I'm thinking it's OKC will make it out of the West, and I think they'll be seeing Boston in the finals.
I think that's right. I think Boston is definitely the favorite in the East. I think it's between. OKC does not have an easy path for the number one seed, though.
No,
they're probably gonna have to play Denver, and then they're gonna have to play either Houston or LA. Man, that's a tough draw, man.
Or Golden State, or oh my gosh,
right? Because
if
Golden State was to bounce Houston, then all of a sudden that breaks the whole bracket, and that's a tough matchup too.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm excited to see how it shapes up. It's just the league is. It's so different. It's so much younger. The game is just so fast. It's really exciting to watch.
Well, it should be fun. We'll have plenty of NBA playoffs coverage for you. We'll also give you a reminder about the MEI as well, as that's getting a little closer, about 6 weeks out now, but we'll do another one of these hits before it rolls around in Butte the last weekend of May 24th through the 26th at Montana Tech. Josh Huestis, the founder of the MEI and the head of the Josh Huestis Foundation, as well as former NBA player, one of my favorite guys to talk hoops with. Our guest here on Nuanez Now. Josh, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, man.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers, because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test, so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on, because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
When you buy tires at Les Schwab, you're getting more than just tires. You're getting America's best tire warranty, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. So if something happens to your tire on the road, we'll fix it, or we'll replace it, no questions asked. Other places make you pay extra for that kind of protection, but at Les Schwab, it's included with every set of tires, because more warranty means less worry, and nobody stands by their tires like Les Schwab. Get more from Les.
Attention, your locally owned and nationally known mattress firm thanks the Missoula community for 10 years of amazing support and growth. There's a huge remodel sale blowout before the doors close for their 2-week remodel. All inventory must go. Mattresses, adjustable bases, accessories, all drastically marked down to clear the showroom. Save it to 60% off on top name brands. If you've been waiting for that amazing deal, now is the time. Mattress Firm's remodel sale only April 1st through the 15th.
Where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Larry Donovan, who served as the head football coach at Montana from 1980 to 1985 and won a Big Sky Conference championship, has died at the age of 84. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. Donovan's passing was announced Monday by the CFL's BC Lions, with whom Donovan coached from 1986 to 1989. The Montana football program also announced the news via social media Tuesday. A native of Casper, Wyoming, Donovan came to Montana as the head coach in 1980 from Kansas, where he was an assistant. Donovan replaced coach Gene Carlson. In 6 seasons at UM, Donovan coached the Grizz to a 25-38 overall record. His best season came in 1982 when the Grizz won the Big Sky Championship with a 5-2 league record and went 6-6 overall. It was Montana's first conference title since winning 2 in a row in 1969 and 1970. It produced the Grizzlies' first NCAA Division I AA playoff appearance, which resulted in a 21-7 loss at league rival Idaho. Marty Mornoweg, an ESPN Montana contributor and former 26-year NFL veteran coach, was the quarterback for Donovan's 1982 Grizz. One of Donovan's major contributions at Montana was his effort to spearhead fundraising in what later became Washington Grizzly Stadium on the UM campus, which opened in 1986 and gave the Grizz one of the best home field advantages in college football. Donovan was dismissed at Montana following the 1985 season and went on to coach in the CFL for 6 seasons, including serving as the head coach of the BC Lions when they advanced to the Grey Cup in 1988.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Bands will make her dance. Bands will make her dance. Bands will make her dance. All these chicks poppin', I'm just poppin' bang. Bands will make her dance. Bands will make her dance. These chicks clappin' and they ain't using.
Sorry, Colter. I know we're doing the Sturgill Simpson thing today. Colter Nuanez, of course, heading over to Bozeman for the Sturgill Simpson show tomorrow. We were playing some Juicy J coming back here. I don't know what that was, like an Alex Ovechkin thing. That's what Jeff Safford explained to me. I don't really know the whole story, but the deal is...
It's you can look it up, just Alex Ovechkin, Juicy J, and for some reason... this old guy really likes some Juicy J, and it's just hilarious. He just gets his teammates riled up, and it's just, I mean, it's the kind of that cringy guy with the weird teeth.
But the guys love it. I mean, the guys love it.
And if the boys vibe to it, then in the sport of hockey, it's a game within a game, such a mental part of it. Anything you can do, I would think, to break up an 82-game schedule. Fun.
Have some fun.
Yeah, so I figured, why not bring in a little bit of that theme to begin a hockey segment.
Well, there you go. Jeff Safford in studio with us here on Nuanez Now. That's the connection. Washington, D.C. sports hero Alex Ovechkin's favorite song, and we're talking Alex Ovechkin because we're talking hockey here on Nuanez Now. What's up, Montana? You're listening to Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television and the ESPN MT app, our Facebook live stream, our YouTube live stream, all of the above. I'm Andrew Houghton coming to you from behind the glass here, but if you see in studio, we've got not one but two of our hockey panelists in with us to take you home here on a Wednesday. Jeff Safford, the voice of Grizz hockey, as well as Hayden Smith, our resident NHL aficionado. It's time to talk NHL around here because we are just 2 days away from the end of the regular season and the start of the hockey playoffs. Games tonight, and then the regular season will finish up tomorrow, but we have the playoff brackets almost set. The Montreal Canadiens are playing right now, trying to clinch the last playoff spot. That is up for grabs, so we figured we better have these two guys in the studio chatting a little hockey heading into the NHL playoffs. Guys, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk some hockey, Stanley Cup playoff hockey. I mean, it's just so much fun. In my opinion, it's every night you can see something different, and just the intensity level just gets turned up so high, and man, even right out of the gates, we have some awesome matchups to look at as well.
Yeah, those guys are warriors. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, the things. I mean, one of my favorite things about the playoffs, actually, is when all of the players are done and they release all of those lists of the injuries that guys have been playing through.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what those guys battle through to get here. So.
And just to see some of the matchups in the first round, we'll get to plenty of them here. Just thinking about first round, a lot of times you think, 1 versus 8, maybe a team that's up against it, so to speak. But when you have teams like Colorado going against Dallas, 2 teams that have been awesome the last few years.
2 of the top 6 teams in the league probably right now.
And they've played regularly in the playoffs as well. They just matched up last season, 3 in the last 5. They played in 2020 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I mean, you get some of those matchups like that. The Kings and Oilers, 2 teams that are very familiar as well.
The 4th, 5th year in a row now, I think. So, I mean, it's a nonstop battle between those guys right now for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what Colter Nuanez is talking about going into the dead period on the sports calendar. We talked NBA playoffs for 40 minutes yesterday. Colter's whining about the Masters is over and football season's over, so guess there's nothing going on. Well, we got the NBA and NHL playoffs about to kick off. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to pose these guys questions, and then we've got the panel in the studio. Jeff and Hayden are going to discuss, debate, maybe come to a conclusion, maybe come to an agreement, maybe not, and we'll do a little bit of a regular season review, and then we'll head into some of those playoff series that they're talking about, a playoff series preview as 16 teams get set to battle for the Stanley Cup. But, guys, I wanted to start looking back at this season really simply. What's the number one moment that's going to stick out in your mind from these 82 games?
The easy answer is Ovechkin setting the goal scoring record. It's the one Gretzky scoring record that in the history of the game will probably be beaten. I think another one that we saw yesterday, Marc-Andre Fleury for the Minnesota Wild.
That was awesome.
Incredible. I mean, they knew they had the playoff spot set, and they threw him out there to get one more win. For those who don't know, he's second all-time in wins for goalies, 575 career wins, won 3 Stanley Cups with Sidney Crosby. The guy's been all over the league, played for Vegas their first year, went to another cup run there. Yeah, I mean, that's another incredible one, too.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy that was a number 1 overall pick in 2003. Just think about the longevity of that goalie's career.
Celebrini put a hat trick on him, and he wasn't even born, I don't think, when Marc-Andre Fleury started playing in the
That has
NHL.
to be right.
No,
yeah.
He's been incredible. I think another one, and he's been kind of not looked at as much because of Ovechkin, is Sidney Crosby. I mean, he's going to set 2 NHL records this year. One's going to be as the longest tenured captain in history of the NHL at 20 seasons with the Pittsburgh Penguins. The other one is he beat a Gretzky record, and he's going to be, I think, 20 straight years of over a point per game.
Man.
And I don't know if people know how difficult that is in the NHL, but I mean, he is 39 years old, and he is still the best player right now on the Penguins. It's incredible. I mean, he's such a great asset for their team still at this age.
And I think it's awesome, too, and it's been mentioned, him just sticking with Pittsburgh, to me is, I mean, yes, it would be cool if we were talking about Sidney Crosby potentially making a postseason run right now.
Do something like Brad Marchand.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, it's so cool in this day and age for him to stick by his team, the team that he has known really his whole adult life. And I think that's an awesome sports story.
You don't see that a lot in professional sports anymore.
No.
You don't.
And to me, a thing that I would bring up, those two, obviously, thinking Ovi and Sidney Crosby, and those other topics, awesome. But another thing for me, off the NHL rink technically, but the Four Nations face-off. For me, that was an event for the game of hockey itself that was big, because you saw the game really transcend that kind of niche audience. You had everyone in the sports world talking about it. You had Stephen A. Smith yammering on about hockey, and when else would you see that unless...
I've never seen it. That was the only time. Yeah.
And I thought it was awesome for the game. It was a great showcase. These players really competed hard. It was just a fun sports moment. It wasn't a hockey moment. It was a cool sports in general moment. And to me, that's sweet.
I think it's incredible just to see how far the U.S. has come in the last 20 years in hockey. I mean, they're giving Canada a run for their money, and that is a country that has basically dominated this sport, other than Russia back in the day a little bit. But I mean, truly, like, their dominance has been shown forever, really.
We got Jeff Safford, we got Hayden Smith in studio with us here on Nuanez Now, talking a little hockey, a little panel debate show on the NHL. We'll get to the playoffs in just a second. Again, last night of the NHL regular season, not tonight, but tomorrow, and after that we'll have the bracket all set, although it's pretty much set right now. So we'll have those guys discuss that in just a minute. But real quick here, before we start looking at the playoffs, what's been the biggest surprise of the season for you guys? I mean, the team or maybe even the player that you didn't expect to have as good a year as they had, or maybe as bad a year as they had?
Well, we'll start with the good for me. I was not expecting the Washington Capitals to have the year they did. I think a lot of folks going into the season were looking at this year as potentially Alex Ovechkin's farewell tour and his push to the record we saw broken just about a week or so ago. Nobody expected this team to have as much success as they did. I mean, they were right in the run for the President's Cup trophy. It won eventually by Winnipeg.
Yep.
But, man, they had an awesome year. And then, to me, the team that I think a lot of folks expected to be a lot better, just thinking about some of the big flashy names that they are able to bring in, was Nashville. And, man, did that just go off the rails completely. Just never had it.
I don't see Stamkos staying there next season, to be honest. I mean, they
I
went
wouldn't think he
all
should
in with those guys. But then, I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do next year. I think they probably get rid of a lot of those guys, and they probably do like a full restructuring, which is what ultimately they need to do. Obviously, bringing in a few pieces didn't, fix the puzzle there.
Because the Preds are a team that you think of as a team that is in the playoffs.
No,
they've got a great barn and
great goalie. I mean, Saros is an incredible goalie. I would say he's an underrated goalie, maybe just because of his size. But I mean, that's a guy that you can confidently play 60 minutes basically every single night and have faith in him to get it done. So, for sure. I think another one that people are talking about, obviously, Celebrini, the touted freshman in San Jose, has been fantastic, but Lane Hudson has been unbelievable.
I was just talking about him with Andrew. That kid is unbelievable there in Montreal.
Unbelievable skater.
He's as good as I can remember seeing. Just his ability just to work his way coast to coast and score the way he can it's just wild to watch.
For sure. I mean, I would love to see him. I think personally he should win Rookie of the Year, the Calder. But just like a lot of sports leagues are, I mean, they're definitely preferential towards offensive output. So hopefully they make a good decision there. But either way, I think it's a good choice. But yeah, Lane Hudson's definitely been a bright spot for me for the Canadians for sure this year.
Well, let's go. You mentioned the Rookie of the Year trophy there that's in contention. Let's just go with one more, looking back at the season. And just 30 seconds here to make your pick and explain your choice. But who do you guys have for the MVP this year?
That's tough. I mean, the season that Leon Draisaitl has been unbelievable. Obviously, anytime that you can reach that 50-goal threshold, it's been an incredible season. For me, I'm taking Connor Hellebuck.
Wow, a goalie.
A goalie. He has 46 wins this year, which I think I'd have to look, but that's more than 75% of the other NHL teams in the league right now. He's got a just barely over a 2. I think it's a 2.02 GAA. Incredible save percentage at .924. Draisaitl could very easily win this award. For me, I think Connor Hellebuck truly deserves it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, and you look at this team, Winnipeg, they just mentioned it. They are the President winning team, the President Cup trophy winning team. And when you have a goalie that's that caliber, that says a big reason why that team had the success they did. Another name I would throw into that ring would be your guy, being an Avs fan, Nathan MacKinnon. I mean, what he does for that hockey team there in Denver is wild. Just his ability to turn on whatever switch that he needs to. Obviously, first you think of him as a facilitator, but if he needs to put the hammer down and put the puck into the back of the net, he can. And he is one of the most unbelievable skaters that you'll see anywhere. So I would
He's
think
incredible. He's like a freight train on the ice.
I would think those would be, your three favorites for the MVP.
You could throw Kucherov in there too. I mean, he's going to win some awards, I think, this year. I think he's got 121 points. So I think
he leads the NHL.
I think he's leading the NHL.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure why he doesn't get the respect he deserves. He has won awards in the past.
But he nearly has 1,000 points in his NHL career. I think 995, I think, is what he's at.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the threshold of that. I mean, that's obviously an incredible thing. McKinnon did that this year, too. That's a pretty big milestone for those guys. But yeah, I think between any of those four, I think ultimately it's going to be between Draisaitl and Hellebuyck for the award. But I don't know. I like Hellebuyck. I think it's going to go to Draisaitl, though. I really do.
Jeff Safford, Hayden Smith in studio with us talking NHL hockey here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Playoffs starting in just a few days. Here are the matchups as they stand right now. Again, tonight and then tomorrow night left in the NHL regular season, but these are just about locked in stone. In the Eastern Conference, Toronto and Ottawa, Tampa Bay and Florida. So a Canadian matchup and a Florida matchup. Washington and Montreal right now, and that'll hold if Montreal holds on to their lead tonight. And Carolina and New Jersey. In the Western Conference, Winnipeg and St. Louis. Dallas and Colorado, you guys have mentioned that series already. Vegas and Minnesota, and the LA Kings against the Edmonton Oilers. Since we don't have those series set in stone yet, I don't want to ask you which is the most intriguing for you, but I do want to ask you, out of the lower down teams, out of the teams not in the top four, out of the teams going on the road in the first round, who do you think has the potential to make a sleeper run here? And again, just about 30 seconds each on who you think.
Well, the team I'm going to bring up is the one that surely is the upstart. A team that hasn't been in the playoffs, mentioned it since 2017, lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's been kind of this slow roll trying to get it going. The Ottawa Senators, they have a great team this year. Brady Tkachuk is a guy that, again, speaking on the Four Nations face-off, kind of rose to fame on a national stage here in the U.S. And simply put, the Toronto Maple Leafs have had close to zero success in the playoffs, thinking about them being a part of the postseason each of the last 9 years, and they have one playoff series win. One. That's a tough thing to come back from a mental standpoint, because you lose a game or two and the yammerings in the locker room are going to be there. So to me, that's a team I'm looking forward to be able to get somewhere, at least in the first round.
So this might seem like an easy choice for me, but and it doesn't feel like they should be in this position, but I'm picking Colorado. I mean, they're the third in the Central right now. The emergence of potentially Gabe Landeskog coming back. I don't know if anyone knows his story. He had a full meniscus replacement, the same surgery that Lonzo Ball had, and missed 3 full seasons. Finally coming back for the playoffs. The Dallas Stars have lost 6 straight games. They have no Heiskanen. I think the Avs, I think they clear that one through, and we'll see what they can do. But I'm going to pick the Avalanche. I know it's a weird thing because they have been such like an elite team in the past, but they truly are not the top dog right now in the West. They've got a lot to get done. I'm taking them.
There you go. NHL hockey talk. Jeff Safford, Hayden Smith. We'll take one more break, pay one more set of bills. When we come back, maybe we'll have time for these guys to give you their Stanley Cup picks. That'll be on the other side. You're listening to Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
The 48th Annual International.
For 20 years, there's been a sound that's helped define Missoula. A sound as unique as the people who call this place home. The Trail 103.3. We're grateful. We're honored. We remain true to the community and true to the music. Tune in for the celebration. Tune in for the party. Tune in for the next 20 years. We can hardly wait.
I can't wait.
The Trail 103.3.
Hardly wait.
In the Treasure State, University of Montana football is a way of life. Lithia Ford has long been a proud sponsor of Grizz football, and Lithia Ford of Missoula is thrilled to have several of the best Montana football seniors driving the best trucks in Montana. Aspen Sound is the premier car audio and accessory shop in Montana. Aspen Sound makes sure the boys are riding in style with tinted windows and state-of-the-art stereo systems. There's always a party in Montana. Whether you're going to a concert, a wedding, or a football game, the Montana Party Bus will get you there. Skyline Sports and ESPN MT cover the Big Sky with more depth than anyone. Check out SkylineSportsMT.com and tune in to Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula every day. My Montana Roots and Wear Your Roots clothing is your go-to spot for the most unique and comfortable lifestyle clothing you'll find anywhere. And get your custom t-shirts to support your favorite player. From 5 local businesses who love Montana, best of luck to the Grizz as they pursue another Big Sky Conference championship.
Attention, your locally owned and nationally known mattress firm thanks the Missoula community for 10 years of amazing support and growth. There's a huge remodel sale blowout before the doors close for their 2-week remodel. All inventory must go. Mattresses, adjustable bases, accessories, all drastically marked down to clear the showroom. Save it to 60% off on top name brands. If you've been waiting for that amazing deal, now is the time. Mattress Firm's remodel sale only April 1st through the 15th.
Where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Little happiness, little love, all I want.
Just a few seconds left here in Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. We can't get those guys out of there without making Stanley Cup picks. Start with you, Hayden. Who you got?
Choice in the first round, and I think I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I'm picking the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think this is their last chance with that core four that they got, and I think they understand the pressure. I think they have a better matchup in the first round than they've had in many, many years, and I think they go for a run.
Jeff, who you got?
Washington Capitals are going to rally around the old dog in Ovechkin.